Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Movie Talk with Freedom. So, this week is the box office for the weekend of November 18th to the 20th of 2022. And we're going to be talking about the second weekend drop for Black Panther. This is going to reveal a lot about just how much money may be in the tank for this movie. And ta-da, the verdict is in. Wakanda Forever drops about 63% in its second weekend. Now, I just want to say that going into the weekend, its Friday to Friday drop was significant. It was about 79%. But most, and the trades had like these huge proclamations like Marvel's in trouble, this is huge, Black Panther's gonna have a 70% second weekend fall. Yet it actually was able to rebound on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, I think it only dropped about 48% from the previous Saturday. And on Sunday, it only dropped 50% from the previous Sunday. So I think that 79% drop is because of two things, Friday to Friday. Thursday previews, which are basically an all-day affair now. And last Friday was a holiday. This Friday was not. So I think we were always going to see some sort of significant second weekend drop. And last weekend, I said if it dropped over 60%, it would have been not great for Marvel. But I do want to iterate that 63% is not good, but it's also not bad. That is within a blockbuster norm, so we say, for a movie's second weekend drop. Nobody should be panicking about this. Because for a Phase 4 Marvel movie, this is actually on the high side. The last 3 Marvel movies have dropped about 68% in their second weekends. And Black Widow also dropped about 68%. I'm pretty sure this is on par with Eternals, which dropped like 61 or 62%. But then its third weekend, it dropped another 61 or 62%. I don't think Wakanda Forever is going to drop another 60% because this weekend is a 5-day holiday weekend. We'll talk about that next week. I think Black Panther is going to easily hold on to number 1 next week, but we'll talk about that if it happens next week. But then there's also Shang-Chi. I think Shang-Chi is the only one that truly overperformed for a Phase 4 Marvel movie. That one only had a 53% drop, but it opened about $108 million less. So, again, I don't think this 63% drop is the end of Marvel or anything. And look, throughout the week, it's been having pretty weak dailies, but this is actually pretty good, and I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why. One, for November, when people are in school and in work, they typically don't go out to the movies during the weekday. And number 2, in the Midwest, particularly in Michigan, where I am, it's been snowing hard for the past 3 days. We've gotten a foot or 2 of snow. So I think that could also be a factor in why this movie had a 63% drop. I think if the weather had been better, and if it had opened at any other time of the year, we could be looking at a second weekend drop that's 57, 58, 59%. And again, 63% is within the norm of blockbuster. A blockbuster drop, second weekend drop, should be somewhere between 55% and 65%. And admittedly, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is more towards that upper end, but it's still within the range of normal. And it is, 5 points better than Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Widow, and Spider-Man No Way Home. And Doctor Strange, which it's performing pretty on par with, by the way. I mean, Doctor Strange had a $187 million opening weekend. This movie had a $181 million opening weekend. Doctor Strange had a $61 million second weekend. This movie has a 67 second weekend, so it's actually starting to perform a little better than Doctor Strange. But Doctor Strange's 10-day total was about $291 million. This one's $288. So it's right on par with it. And I think it's going to do a lot better because it has the whole holiday season coming up, a month until Avatar. And then on top of that, it's just 63% is really, it really is not that bad. I mean, this is blockbuster normal. Like I said, and it's much better than what Marvel has been posting recently. And I think that is because of good word of mouth and, good critic appeal. And I think this weekend, when we get to Thanksgiving, it's going to trounce all of the movies that are out. It's just going to kill every single one of them. And I think this movie has a shot at getting to $1 billion, which is what we're going to talk about next. Its overseas box office is a bit soft, but its second weekend drop overseas is actually about 49% versus 63% for the domestic. It's up to 258.3. Last weekend it opened at 150, which was 30 million lower than the domestic box office. And it's still about 30 million lower. However, I think because its second weekend drop was better, the overall number overseas came out to be about $69.8 million. So I think it's going to do just fine. As for the $1 billion chances, we'll just have to wait and see. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness in its second weekend was at about $688 million, which is $140 million more than this movie. But Doctor Strange did not have a 5-day holiday weekend or 5 weeks of no competition at the box office. And Thor: Love and Thunder, actually, in its second weekend, it was only at $498 million. So, and that movie was, I'm not going to say Love and Thunder flopped, but it definitely underperformed from what Marvel was expecting. So 546.3, over $500 million in just 2 weeks. It's pretty damn impressive. So I think it's on track to making at least $900 to $950 million and has an outside chance of getting to $1 billion if it can be very strong on Thanksgiving. Like, we're talking like, if its third weekend is like 50 million or so, I think it would have a shot. I don't know if it's going to do that, but it could. It still has good word of mouth. Don't forget. And of course, the other studios are serving a turkey for Thanksgiving. And that's about it for Black Panther. I really have nothing else to say. I mean, its second weekend drop is rather average when it comes to blockbusters. And its overseas numbers are also pretty good. So I think people just should not jump to conclusions about a movie's box office, because they used to perform like that. Coming in at number 2 was The Menu, which, interestingly, opened exactly on par with the expectations, which I think was about $9 million. And this movie opened at about $9 million. Its overseas box office was about $6 million for a global opening of $15 million. That's, just kind of meh. I really got nothing to say about this movie. I didn't go see it, so I don't know. However, I do have some stuff to say about Black Adam. Its global total to date is $366 million. This is about $15 million more than it was last week, and it only has one more market to go, and that's Japan. So unless Japan can give it maybe like $20-30 million, it's either going to just barely touch $400 million or is not going to get there at all. And its domestic box office, by the way, is now on track to coming under 170. Like, that's horrifying. I mean, that's less than Hobbs and Shaw, which is 172, which is the movie I was comparing it to, for the past month. And now I think it's likely, perhaps, to come under Hobbs and Shaw. It could still, because of Thanksgiving, come right on par with Hobbs and Shaw, but not worldwide. Hobbs and Shaw made over $700 million worldwide. And why? Because it had China. and it was much better overseas, just overall. Black Adam only having a little over 200 overseas is very problematic. I mean, Black Panther has made more than that in, made more than that in like 7 or 8 days. This is Black Adam's month total. It ain't good. And this movie also needed $600 million to break even, so this is just going to be total wash for Warner Brothers. I don't think they're even going to revisit this in the future. As for the overall top 10, Chosen season 3, and then like a few other this was like a special release, I guess. I did not even know it existed, which is why I did not include it in last week's, upcoming week at the box office. Same thing with Drishyam 2, which is some sort of Bollywood movie. Did not know that existed. And for those who don't know, the GTD number you see there is global to date. So I'm just going to give you a few updates. Ticket to Paradise, 160.8. That actually puts it at its break-even point. So it's doing fine. And domestically, it's 61.6. It ain't never getting to the $100 million mark, but it's solid. Smile has reached almost $215 million worldwide. For a $17 million low-budget horror movie, it's pretty impressive. Well over $100 million domestic. Lyle Crocodile, which for the past 2 or 3 weeks has seen very impressive holds, finally dropped over 40%. And Ticket to Paradise itself dropped just 46%. 4 out of the 10 movies out this week were new releases. Oh, by the way, She Said, which last week was expected to come in at around $6 million or so, came in at less than half that, just around 2.2. That's a disaster. That really is unfortunate. That's bad. And it only made an extra $570,000 overseas. So it's just not good. As for this coming week, we are going to have a lot to talk about. A Strange World. Disney Animation. I think it has a budget of close to $200 million. It's only expected to open between $15 to $25 million. To let you know how much of a disaster this would be, Lightyear, which has literally costed the entire rewrite of Pixar as a studio, it debuted with double what Strange World is expected to come at the high end. And Strange World has the same budget. So I think Strange World could be such a flop that it will cause Disney to think about their future as a studio. That is shocking. And on top of that, it's expected to come in about $10 million below Encanto last year, and that movie came out during a pandemic. That is shocking. And then there's 2 other movies that are expected to have the exact, the same range, $6 to $11 million. That's Devotion, which I don't know what that movie's about. I've only seen a couple of trailers. And then Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery. It's like a sequel to Knives Out. And that's about it. So I will see you guys next week to talk about if Strange World is the potential disaster that it looks like it might be, and about Black Panther Wakanda Forever's 3rd weekend, which I suspect it to be very good. So goodbye, and that's it for this week.